But we're going to start with our Crisis in the Classroom investigative reporter, Tiffany Lane. She's live at Von Tobel. Tiffany, you've been talking with parents about the tough conversations they are now forced to have with their children.
This is a very difficult thing to talk about. Many of us didn't have to have these conversations when we were in school. This shooting terrified many children as well as their parents, and that same night, families across the district at all the schools in CCSD received messages about vague school threats that were circulating on social media. So combining all of these things together turned out to a scary moment for many families. I spoke with a child psychiatrist who said the current climate just really has a mental impact on children, and he shared how parents can talk to them to help out the situation.
But they were scared. They were just like, Mom, do I really have to go to school today or tomorrow?
Deborah Ortiz says it was a tough decision to send her 2 children to school Tuesday, a day after a school security monitor at Von Tobel Middle School was shot by a stray bullet from off campus.
I called my daughter because I was texting with them all day to make sure they were fine. And she was just like, a lot of kids didn't come to school today. A lot of her friends didn't come to school today.
Jen, a mom to kids at 2 other schools who did not want to be identified on camera, said she decided not to send her kids to school Tuesday and Wednesday following the shooting Monday, and after receiving this email sent by the principal at Becker Middle School. CCSD also sent an email to all district families Monday night regarding vague social media threats.
Just saying that these are outside threats and they're unsubstantiated. They're just trying to disrupt the learning process, and they're doing all that they can to look into it.
Jen says at this point, she just wants to take extra precaution.
You know, Texas Uvalde shooting, the shooter did post on social media, and that's why I decided to take this social media posting seriously and hold my kids out of school.
Psychiatrist Dr. Sid Karana, who works with children and their families, says he has many patients who are worried about school shootings. He says it's because of the current climate where shootings have become more common.
This is a time where I feel like 2 things are happening at the same time. One, we are very hyper vigilant. We scan every threat, and every single incident puts up into that hyper alert state. And on the other hand, simultaneously is we are getting used to it. I can't even ask you to tell me all the shootings that happened in the last 1 week.
His message for parents to talk to their kids about what's going on.
Well, the advice I would give to them is that overall, schools are still a safe place. The number of incidents, even though the prevalence and the incidence has increased in the last decade and a half, it's overall your kids have a more likelihood of going to school and coming home safe.
He says parents need to assure their kids that if something does not seem okay, they need to take additional steps.
Which may be to keep them home or contact the school or work with authorities to make sure that they are going to be safe.
I asked parents if they've had discussions with their children since Monday's shooting.
I haven't, but after these events this week, I'm definitely going to make that a priority.
I tried to reassure them that, you know, they were safe today to come to school, and if they didn't feel safe, they could just call me and I would pick them up.
And the district did confirm to me this morning that they did have additional CCSD police officers patrolling the area as a precaution. Now, the parents I spoke with said this was comforting considering yesterday's incident.
The former owner of the Alpine Motel will stand trial on charges related to a fire that killed 6 people at that downtown property and happened back in December of 2019.
Today, a local judge decided there is enough evidence for this case to move forward. And News 3's Denise Rosh is live at the Regional Justice Center. Denise, this case has dragged on for years.
Yeah, Jim, attorneys tell me that this was quite possibly the longest preliminary hearing in state history. It began in 2020 and just wrapped up this afternoon with this statement from the prosecution.
You can't be a slumlord and get away with it in Clark County.
So, Adolfo Orozco Garcia will stand trial on 27 counts that include involuntary manslaughter and wanton disregard for the safety of a person. 6 people died in the Alpine fire, another 13 were injured. The state says Orozco simply did not maintain the property. A back door, for instance, was bolted shut, preventing escape during the fire. There were also no working fire alarms. and many tenants had no heat. They were using their stoves to keep warm. In fact, the fire started on a stove. Now, despite today's decision, defense attorney Dominic Gentile says his client is eager to clear his name.
And there's a lot of people that enter guilty pleas that shouldn't, but they are emotionally beaten. They are disheartened. My client is not disheartened.
You will not be pleading to these charges.
We'll be pleading not guilty.
So while the case against Orozco, though, will head to trial, charges were dismissed against a co-defendant. That was property manager Melinda Meyer. Also, we should mention that a civil lawsuit in this case, that has already been resolved.
Subscribe to News 3 on YouTube at News 3 Las Vegas.